All right, guys. Wait. Hello? Hello?
All right. All right. Hey, everybody. So thanks for coming to SFP Performance. I see some really familiar faces here, so that's excellent. I'm glad that you guys have come back. Usually, we do a lot of stuff centered around fitness tech, wearables, productivity. This is the first time I'm doing anything like this.
All right.
So, dating and relationships. This is a topic that has been near and dear to my heart for a long time. And it's not just because dating and relationships being near and dear to my heart is a double entendre, but basically because I think dating is broken. And I think connections are broken. There's a lot leading up to it. And there are ways that I think we can learn to connect with other human beings on a romantic level, on a spiritual level, and on a physical level. And what we're here today to do is to learn, maybe even relearn, how to connect with people. So, show of hands, who here has been on a date either this week or last week? Just a date. Okay, all right, so the ones who had this date last week or this week, show of hands, how many would like to go out with that same person again? All right, we got a little less hands that time. But now, how many of you who would like to see that same person again, who raised your hand this time, think that it's definitely going to happen? That's a lot less hands. And so, this is tough. Dating world's tough. We don't know when we're going to be able to go out with people. We don't know whether the connections that we've had are genuine. And I think that the experts that I'm bringing on stage today are going to be able to navigate this space for us. I've always been a tech nerd most of my life. My mom had told me that probably I would meet my significant other in a cafe. I'd be on my laptop, she'd be on her laptop too, and the two of us would never actually say hello or ever meet. Thanks, Mom, I appreciate it. What that means to me is that a lot of us are scared to connect. We're scared to open up and say hello to another human being. And for me, what that means is taking a stance against online dating, but you guys don't have to do that. I'm just doing that for myself so I can challenge myself into connecting with other people for real. But basically, I'm really happy that all you guys are here to learn something new, and I appreciate that everyone's here to support SFP Performance. And what I want to do is talk about bringing up our first speaker, Sasha Silberberg. She runs OkSasha, which is a matchmaking service that is very successful. She's even been featured in media all over the place, SF Gate, and I think on Vice, right? And so she is going to talk to you about some really awesome stuff. Can't wait. Sasha, please come on up. Woo!
Oh wait, I forgot the plate. Thank you. Okay, cool. So is this okay? I wonder if this will work with this. Ooh. Okay. Okay, I think it's gonna work. I just want to make sure before I start talking. Okay, awesome. Hello, everybody. I'm Sasha. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your support, and I hope that you learned something new from my presentation. So today I'm going to be talking about online dating. How many people here are on Tinder or Bumble or OkCupid or any of those online dating sites? Okay, so a good portion of people. So I'm going to be talking about some online dating hacks and intimacy hacks for your first date and how to have like a deeper connection on your first date. I'll try sitting on this thing. Okay. Okay, so first off, just a little bit about me. So I'm a matchmaker. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a matchmaker. Some people haven't. But basically I got into this business 2 years ago, and I started working for a matchmaking startup. And while I was working there, I worked with 50 plus clients a week, and I was just always talking to people in San Francisco about dating and what they're looking for in a match. And I matched hundreds of people while I was there as well. And that's kind of what gives me the authority to talk on this stuff. So I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And after I worked there for about a year, I decided to start my own business. So that's where OkSasha comes from. And now I work with about 10 clients at a time. So it's a lot less people. And I help out most of my clients with their online dating profiles, and I kind of teach them these tricks that I'm about to show you guys. So right now I'm running this business full time, and I actually this past Sunday I just threw a blindfolded dating event, which was very successful. So if any of you guys have any question about that afterwards, definitely come up to me. So I'm basically just trying to create interesting events and interesting experiences through dating. So this is a little bit about what my process looks like. So first, when I meet with a client, I do a matching assessment. So that's basically like I sit with them for about an hour, and I just learn everything about them, from their where they grew up, to their dating history, to the types of whether they like to what they like to do in their free time, basically anything you can imagine that's relevant to dating. So I talk to them about that, figure out what their deal breakers are, their must-haves, stuff like that. And then I do an online dating consultation for a lot of these people, helping them improve their online dates, their online dating strategies. And I also obviously match people, so I set people up on dates, because that's what a matchmaker does. And I coach people. So that's a little bit about me. So now we're going to get into the actual content. So the first thing I want to talk about is fostering intention with online dating. So, and I see this over and over again when I'm talking to clients. I find that people are just not, they're kind of just going on these online dating sites blindly. So they're not actually thinking about what they're looking for. And I know this because I've talked to hundreds of people, and whenever I ask them, so what are you, what kind of person are you looking for? A lot of times they're kind of like, I don't know, like someone who's sarcastic like me, like people always say the same thing like over and over again. And I'm kind of like, okay, but that's so general, like what does that mean, right? I think it's a really important part of the process to create a vision board for the type of person that you're looking for. So I have some questions here that I think are very useful for what I'm trying to go for. So we have, what kind of relationship am I looking for? So that's pretty basic, most people think about that. What kinds of activities do I envision myself participating in with my partner? How do I want to feel around this person? How do I want them to feel around me? Okay? So these are all very general, but it's very much centered around values and how you want to feel, which I think is really important to think about. So one way that one thing that I do with my clients to help them sort of envision this type of person is we do word clouds. So raise your hand if you've seen a word cloud, or if you know what it is. Okay, cool. So I created this word cloud. This word cloud serves two purposes. One of them is I thought you guys would think it was interesting to see the types of things that people tell me. So these are probably, I'd say, the most common things that people ask me or tell me that they want, right? So, and this is all very much particular to San Francisco. So you see up there, burner friendly, Thoughtful, fit, communicator, right? So all these things that a lot of us want. And I have 5'11 plus there. That's the most common thing I get from women, 5'11 plus. So I find that word clouds, there's a lot of purposes behind word clouds, and usually people use them to visualize data. But what I do for this is I think it's really useful in terms of like you can separate the words in terms of color and positioning to sort of have like a better understanding of what this person looks like. So I just find the visual tends to be really helpful. So this is just kind of like, I wanted to give you the antithesis of what I just talked about. So these are the deal breakers that most people tell me. So the most common one is smoking, as you can imagine. Cigarettes, not weed. We're in California. Peter Pan. Raise your hand if you've heard that one. Peter Pan syndrome. Okay, so this is like a very San Francisco thing, right? So basically, what it entails is it's this whole idea that there's these guys who never want to grow up and they just want to go to Burning Man and like work 1 million hours a week and they don't want to commit to anything. Okay, so that's like the Peter Pan syndrome. So that's one of the most common things I get as well from women is they're like, I do not want a Peter Pan. So I'm like, okay, girl, I get you. And then there's narcissist, alcohol, all these things that nobody wants. Kids. Okay. so then we got, so this is something, so I have a series of value tables that I show my clients. And this is just a good way, because a lot of times if I go up to you and I just say, hey, tell me what you're looking for, you're gonna be like, shit, like, I don't know, somebody who's nice and adventurous, right? So this is a really good way to get more specific with what you're looking for. So I find you can just look this up on Google, value tables, and it'll help you visualize. So once you've gone through these exercises of creating these word clouds and looking at the value tables and sort of having like a better understanding of what you're looking for, then you can break it down to your 3 must-haves and your 3 deal breakers. Now I can tell you now that you're gonna want to do way more than 3, okay? You're gonna wanna put down every little thing because we're perfectionists and a lot of us suffer from the one mentality, right? Where we want someone to fulfill everything. So that's why it's important to once you go through every single thing that you're looking for, to kind of break it down and be like, okay, what are the 3 most important things for deal breakers and must-haves? And then identifying the whys for each one. So a lot of times, we'll think about these things, but we don't actually think about why. So an example of that is, I remember one time I tried to match this guy, and he was Chinese American, and he told me that he didn't want to be set up with anyone who was Chinese. And I asked him why. So I didn't have to ask him why. I could have just been like, okay, right? But I asked him why, and he said it's because of cultural differences. So when I found that out, I was like, okay, so if I brought you a Chinese girl who's American, then you're actually gonna be okay with that, right? So it's about, finding the exceptions to these rules because people don't fit in these bubbles. Okay, I need some water. Okay, so let's get to online dating. So once you have the person, you know what they're going to be like, or you know what you're looking for. So then you're going to go on your online dating site. So not all of these online dating sites have a username, but some of them do, right? So if you're looking at something like OkCupid, the username. Okay, so this is something that I really wanted to mention because I find that a lot of people totally don't think about their username, right? So they get on the site and they're just like, they just put in some random shit, and it's like, no, like you need to think about how this actually matters. Because when you're browsing, so if you take OkCupid for example, if you're browsing, looking through matches, you're gonna see the person's username and you're gonna see their picture. And that's it. You're not gonna see their profiles. So basically what you're doing is you're missing that chance. You're missing that chance to show how awesome you are in a sea of 1 million people. okay? So in order to get the best username, and I'll give you some examples, you want it to evoke a positive association, right? You don't want them to be like, ooh, I'm scared. Not sexual or offensive. Unique, no numbers, and no net speak. So I'll give you some examples here. So we have, so I put some good examples. So Jack be nimble. If your name's Jack, that's a pretty cool name, because then you're playing on that whole fairy, or what is that, nursery rhyme? I don't know, you know, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, you know, all that thing. So that's an example of something good, like it's creative, and your name's Jack, so okay, cool, that makes sense. My hero, Mr. Feeney. So I don't know if you guys know Boy Meets World. Mr. Feeney. So that's an example of something that's funny. So people who understand Boy Meets World are going to be attracted to that. And then you see some of the bad examples. We have Henry, 1981, highlighting how old you are. 69, yes, 69. Marina wrote for you, right? So there's all of these things that you see. You see all of this crazy shit, okay, in the online dating world. So you don't want to be one of those people. You want to stick out for a good reason. Okay. So, thank you. Okay, so pictures. Yes.
So you got Sasha in SF as a bad example. Why is that bad?
Yeah. So that's let me go back to that. So I put that as a bad example because, first of all, you're still missing an opportunity to like with that username, you're still missing an opportunity to express yourself. So it's not really like a horrible example. I guess it's not like 69, yes, 69, right? Or Marina wrote for you. But it's not a good example. It's boring. You're not really learning anything. You already know I'm in San Francisco because you're looking at the people in San Francisco because that's where you live, right? So it's really about taking advantage of the username. Okay, so pictures. So I'm not going to read this whole thing to you because you guys can read, but I mean the thing that I find to be the most important is having professional pictures. And if you can't have a professional take your picture, then go do like a 30-minute session with your friends and just like get those pictures on iPhone. You know, a lot of people will come up to me and they'll be like, yeah, I don't have any pictures of myself. And you just need one friend with a camera, you know, like just take a couple of those pics and then you should be good. Let's see, I can point out some of the more interesting parts of this. So, has anybody ever heard of a Duchenne smile? Yeah? It basically just means a genuine smile. So it's a smile that it constitutes furrowing your crow's feet, and also, or crow's feet, that's what this is, I think. And also like your cheeks go up, right? So people who have pictures of them like actually smiling and not just like, they tend to get like a lot more matches on these online sites because there's a genuineness to that, and people can pick up on that. And what else? Oh, I'm going to mention this later. Pictures with living animals. You'll see why I'm going to mention it, or I just brought that up. But pictures with living animals, that's always a good idea, right? We all know that guy who has the tiger. So these are just some examples that I took for my own pictures. So as you see, the top left, my sister actually took that. She's in the audience. So this is a professional picture. You can tell I look awesome, okay? Like, come on, I look awesome. And I have a background, I have that whole thing. And then you look to the right, there's a picture of me and my sister playing Nintendo 64. So the reason why that's not a particularly good picture of me, but if I were my own online dating consultant, I would say that's a good picture because Nintendo 64 is a really good conversation starter, okay? So if somebody sees that, they're gonna be like, wait, this girl plays Nintendo 64, right? And then lastly, I love pugs, and like I said, having a living animal is always good. Okay, so now we're gonna go over the don'ts. So don't include a selfie, and you'll see what I mean by selfie, unless it's really awesome or funny. So an example of that is I have a friend who's a kite surfer, and he took a selfie of himself kite surfing. That's cool, like that's okay, all right, you could do that. But if it's just you in the mirror with your shirt off, like, no. Another one that a lot of people do is pictures of you wearing sunglasses. I always see this. This is one of the most common things. Pictures, it's just a close-up of you wearing sunglasses, and then a bunch of your pictures are sunglasses. And it's like, we can't see your face, right? So that's another one. Showing off your one pack. Don't suggest that. So these are just examples. So, you remember when I said living animal? Okay, so all the ladies in here know what I'm talking about. These guys with these fish, I don't know what the hell is up with this. Yeah, see, all the ladies are laughing because they're like, yeah, I know. They're just carrying a fish. They're just like, look at me with my fish. I don't understand. If any of you guys here, I'm sorry if I'm insulting you, but please, when you go home, take off that fish pic, okay? So that's one thing. And then, you know, you got the picture of the sunglasses, and then we got James Franco, who's always a good example. Okay.
What about close-ups?
Close-ups, yeah. So the only good example I've seen, so it depends how close up, right? So if it's just like a picture of like your face from like reasonably far away, close up, that's good, right? If it's a good picture. One time so one of the best, the funniest dating profiles I've ever seen was this guy so he had a succession of the same picture getting closer and closer and closer. So you go on his Tinder and it's like, and then it's like, and then eventually it's just his mouth. And I was like, okay, like that's only one picture, but you're clever as hell, so I'm gonna message you. Okay, so the profile. So look back at your vision board, word cloud, and build your profile. So that goes, I'm just circling back to what I said before, right? So take what you learned from your vision, and you're gonna create this profile that is consistent with who you are, because now you have a better understanding of what you're looking for. These are just other questions to ponder while you build your profile. What would this person think is funny, right? What would they find interesting about you? So, you know, just thinking from the other person's perspective. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go over with short form profiles, humor is always the best. So if you got a funny bone, please use it. And then what else can I point out from here? Oh, don't be basic, okay? There's so many people, and I'll give you an example of this in a second, but there's just so much, like, it's such a good opportunity to say, even in just a sentence, saying something that's funny is better than being boring. And staying positive. If you're a guy and you're over 5'10", I always recommend putting your height. Yes?
Why would you hide your height if you're less than that? Because someone might be kind of disappointed if you're short.
Right, so I'm not saying that you should hide your height. I'm just saying you shouldn't put it in the initial profile. So I think that it's something, if you're like a particularly short guy, then I think it's definitely a good idea to mention that when you start messaging the person. But you want to kind of let them have a better idea of your personality, right? So that they're not judging you straight up. And I know this because, like I said before, every girl I talk to is like 5'10 plus, you know, and they say that as a must-have. So, not every girl, but a lot of them. Okay. Yes?
So does that mean that all guys who are less than 5'10 are being relegated to datelessness?
No. No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it makes it more difficult for them. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so anyway, I just have some examples of some good things. So my biggest turn on is unprotected Wi-Fi. Liam Neeson is my emergency contact because I'm not a fucking idiot. Not saying I'm Beyonce, but not saying I'm not Beyonce either. So these are all things that are funny. Another thing I recommend is, if you have no idea what to putting actually interesting 3 truths and a lie is a really good conversation starter. So if you can think of 3 things that all sound like lies, but only one of them is a lie, and they're actually like positive and not creepy, then I definitely suggest using that. And then I just have some bad ones. So I see this kind of stuff all the time. Work, cook, read, dance, repeat. Like, what? That didn't tell me anything about you, okay? Like, cool. You might as well have said, like, eat, sleep, repeat. Like, awesome. Okay, and then, so with long form profiles, so basically with this, one of my main things that I've found through my research is this 70-30 rule. So basically what this says is that 70% of your profile should be about you and 30% of it should be about what you're looking for. So this is just that magic number that, I think I learned this through OK Trends. It's just a magic ratio for a profile that's gonna grab that person's attention. And going back to what I was talking about with the vision board is you want to make sure that you're coming up with like a theme for who you are as a person, and you want to make sure that your pictures, your username, like all of that flows easily. Because if all of it flows and it's in unison and it makes sense, then that person's going to get an idea for who you are really quickly and really easily, which is exactly what you want. And then the other big thing I want to say is don't talk about it, be it. So people are always saying, oh, I'm adventurous and I'm funny and like I'm awesome. And it's like, okay, cool, that doesn't tell me anything about you. Instead of saying you're adventurous, say you're a mountain climber, right? So that I can make the inference. That's what you want the person to do. And then of course, I never recommend using cliches like Netflix and chill and I like to travel. Okay, so I just have some examples. So this is an example of what I would say is a pretty good profile. So this person says, left-handed, self-made thousandaire, would never have more than 10 items in the 10-item max checkout line. 5-star Lyft passenger rating, rarely pay 10 cents for a bag. So this is an example of being it, as opposed to saying it. So you see this person like has a sense of humor through what they're saying. And then let's see, there's another example. So my hobbies include training puppies to play the piano, teaching robots to love, and lying about my hobbies. From Hershey, Pennsylvania, land of chocolate and cows, but honestly mostly cows. I'd say the movie Magic Mike was based off my life, but it wouldn't be a true statement, so I won't say it. So this is just you're getting an idea for this person's personality, right? Even though he's not really saying much, other than Pennsylvania and fake hobbies. And this is just another example. There was something I wanted to pick out of this. So this person said, so I am in a get those kids off my lawn phase of life. I am not amused by Burning Man, live streaming things that don't matter anyway, or any activity that involves wearing a costume in Brooklyn. So this is an example of saying something that's gonna turn off some people, but not the person that you're looking for, right? So I just wanted to like highlight that as something that's like totally okay to do. If you're not into something, it's totally fine to say that. And it will attract the people who aren't into that as well. Okay, so now let's get to messaging. So, I guess the first note I have is to make sure that you actually put in effort. But it doesn't have to be that much effort. So I don't know if any of you guys in the audience have done this before, but I know a lot of the guys that I've worked with will do the copy-paste method of just like, I'm gonna copy this message and paste it and copy and paste it, right, over and over again to all these women. Because if you want to be 90% confident that you're going to receive one message on OkCupid, you have to send 58 messages if you're a guy. Whereas if you're a woman, you have to send 13. So guys are at a very large disadvantage in that sense. So that's why you find them doing this copy-paste method a lot. So the thing I have to say about the copy-paste method is it's actually 75% as effective as just sending messages to, sending more customized messages to people. So in order to make it that 100%, I always recommend, if you're gonna do the copy paste, at least take a few things from that person's profile and add it in there. Make it somewhat customized so that it's not as obvious, because trust me, we can tell when you copy pasted it. And, okay, let's see what else. So, always make sure to stay positive, ask open-ended questions, but not so open-ended that you're just like, I don't even know how to answer this. Like, how are you? How was your day? You know, I mean, you can answer that kind of, but it's boring, and that's what everybody's asking. Another important thing is understanding a woman's advantage. So, OkCupid's done a lot of research on this, and they actually have, if you just search like woman's advantage on OkCupid, you can find like an entire, all the data on it. And basically what they found was that women who message first tend to have higher quality matches in terms of attractiveness, and they also just tend to get more dates. So if you're a woman, definitely message first. Totally recommend that. And another thing is make sure to use geography to your advantage. So with these things like Happen, I don't know if anybody here has done Happen, or Tinder, or mostly Happen, because they tell you based on geography, like whether you've crossed paths with someone. A really good way to start up a conversation on that kind of platform is by talking about things that are near you. So you can be like, hey, like, you are in The Hague too, and so am I. So have you ever been to the Milk Bar? Right. So just bringing that as a conversation topic. How am I on time?
You can do 5 minutes, and then we can do 5 minutes of questions.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so we're talking about optimizing online dating, right? So I grabbed this from Nielsen. It's very recent, 2016. So they mapped out the best times to go on different online dating sites. So they found that OkCupid peaks from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. So if you want to get the most traffic on your profile, that's a really good time to go there. And with Tinder, it's 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and where the peak is at 9 p.m. And Bumble peak is at 6 p.m. I honestly have no idea why these numbers are the way they are, but you can definitely use that to your advantage. And it's something that a lot of people aren't aware of. Oops. Okay, so now going to some extra tools. So a lot of people haven't heard of these things. So there's this thing called Zoom Chrome extension. And this is really, if you go, I'm assuming most people here have used Google Chrome. If you haven't, it's really good for things like this. So if you search Zoom Chrome extension, you can actually get this this little like widget, I guess. I'm not really tech, sorry. It's like this platform that if you put your clicker over it. Sorry guys. I'm so not tech. I'm sorry. You put your clicker over it, or your mouse. You put your mouse over it, then it will actually blow up the picture. So you don't need to click it, because that can take a lot of time, like clicking through different things. So that'll blow up the picture. Another thing is use your friends. A lot of people don't do this. They're too embarrassed. But most people are online dating. So don't be scared to use their friends. They're really useful for telling you if your profile looks fake or if your pictures suck or any of that stuff. And then lastly, OkCupid for the non-mainstream user. Chrome plugin. So this is a different thing. So this is actually really cool because, and I took a little screenshot of it right up there so you guys can see what that looks like. So this Chrome extension is really useful for highlighting certain characteristics that you'd otherwise have to dig deeper to find, right? So with things like let's say you really like smoking weed. All right, so you could do, you could highlight 420 friendly, and it'll help you find people who are 420 friendly, or more science friendly, BDSM, all of these things. So you can really refine your search with this. So I definitely recommend it. Okay, this is my last slide. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, I got a little bit off. Those are most of my tips for online dating. And then I guess just for pre-date, some things that I would recommend are, one, a lot of people will stalk their date beforehand online, like look at their Facebook and Google search them and all of this stuff. I mean, arguably, that's not a good idea. You could make an argument for the other way around, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think that you should trust the person if you have any questions for them, then you should meet in a public place and just ask them the questions yourself. Because a lot of time when you search on Facebook, you'll find pictures of them doing something, and then you'll make an assumption, right? And then you'll not go on the date, even though they could have been the love of your life. And then, other than that, remember that every person you meet is a gateway to others. So even if it's basically just a reminder to make sure that, like, if you're going on a date with somebody, that you're actually, like even if you're not interested in them romantically, that you keep in mind that it's really important for you to still, at least try to be their friend, because being their friend could introduce you to the person that you're looking for. And then last, picking a date. So a lot of people like to go on coffee dates, which I am not a fan of at all. If you read my Vice article, they quote me on this, and I really don't like them. So I always recommend that first of all, if you have to get coffee, at least take it to go and go in a park and walk around, right? Because then you'll have an easier time with talking about topics. Because when you sit down for a coffee, it's very businessy and interviewee, which is never a good idea for a date, not the most romantic thing. And I always recommend doing something that you do anyway, so that if it's a crappy date, then you're like, okay, well, whatever, I did it, I wanted to go to SF MoMA anyway. And then another good thing is doing something that is more physical. So, like doing something that actually makes your heart rate go up, because research has found that when you do something where your heart rate goes up, like go on a roller coaster with somebody, it actually it's like your body is telling you that you're attracted to that person, so it actually increases attraction. That's it.
We have to reserve questions, by the way, but Sasha, is there anything that you want to tell the group about what you do and what you...
Yeah, sure, really quick. So, like I said, I'm a matchmaker, so I basically go around collecting awesome people like you guys. So I have my matchbook right back there. So if anybody wants to sign up for my matchbook and get matched by me, it's completely free to be in the matchbook, so I definitely recommend it. Otherwise, they're highlighting it. Otherwise, you can just take a business card or just talk to me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.